Good morning. My name's Erin. I had the pleasure of going south of the border a week ago with 25 other people. We took a trip down to Juarez, Mexico, right next to El Paso, just across the border. And 26 of us, who have no professional experience doing such a thing, built a house for a family that had been living in what could only be described as probably not a house. And similar to our gospel lesson, as Jesus went up the mountaintop and was changed in front of 3 of his followers, we also were changed as we went. We had the privilege of also participating in helping to change another family's life, as well as a neighborhood, because there were a lot of neighborhood kids that figured out that the gringos were in town, and they came running to see the funny white-looking people. And so you are going to hear from several students and a couple of adults that were on that trip. But you're not going to hear from all of them because that would take a very long time. And we want to be out of here in like an hour and 15 minutes. Not the sermon, like total church. And so here's how this is going to work. They are going to get together in little pods of 2 and 3 people, sort of at the outer edges of the room. All right? You hear that, students? Right? That's what you're going to do. And then you all are going to gravitate towards them and huddle around them and hear their stories from like those 2 or 3 people. All right? So you're not going to hear, if you're over here, you're not going to be hearing the stories of people over here. If you are more interested in hearing that person talk, well then just walk across the aisle and you can do that. You can go to whoever you like. If you want to hear more stories, come to coffee hour because they're all going to be there anyways, and you can hear more stories. And we'll also have some photos and we have a time-lapse video of the house going up, and it's joyous to see. So that's what we're going to do. So it's kind of a non-traditional sermon time. And after they're done, we'll come back here and I'll just wrap this up real quick, and then we'll move on with our time of worship. So, does anybody have any questions? Thoughts, regrets, recipe ideas? Okay. So students, if you would like jump into your groups and move, and then we'll have everybody else move. So go ahead and scatter yourselves and all that. Just while they're moving, we worked with an organization called Cases Por Christo, which is Houses for Christ. They are based in El Paso, but they build houses in Juarez, in Acuña, Mexico, also in the Dominican Republic and in Guatemala. So they do this. They have built over 5,000 houses since 1993. This is an organization that is dedicated to these areas of the world and are really, really pouring their hearts out for Christ in those places. Those of you who are like down off the stairs, come in towards like, yeah, come, there you go. Like, yeah, there we go. We can have a crew up here. Like, don't be afraid to come up front, y'all. Don't all stay at the back, right? I know you're good Episcopalians, but we don't have to stand at the back. And so, fantastic. Okay, but now everybody's coming out. Then we need one to go back there. Why don't you guys go there? Why don't you guys go there? All right, so fantastic. So you've got like 3 groups of people to huddle around. We're going to give you about 7-8 minutes, maybe a little less. Could each group make sure you have a phone that is recording the audio? Sierra, do you have audio? Can you record audio on your phone? Could you do that, please? That would be grand. All right? So, all right, everyone else, 3, 2, 1, stand and scoot and move. Thank you all.
Do you want to introduce yourself for this?
Hello, I'm Steven.
And I'm Erin. I'm from All Saints in Appleton. Where are you from, Steven?
What?
What church do you go to?
St. Thomas?
There you go. Do you want to share some of your story first?
No.
No? Okay, well, have you ever done something like this before?
No.
No. So what was it?
T-shirt. Thanks.
Yeah, Steven's actually wearing one of the Casas t-shirts because we were there through an organization called Cases Por Christo, which means Houses for Christ. And Steven was actually the youngest one on our trip. So Steven, what was like for you being the youngest and doing this for the first time?
It was fun.
Say a little bit more about that. What were some of the best parts of the trip?
The building the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you like to build?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what project was something that you worked pretty hard on?
The roof.
Yeah. Tell them a little bit about the roof.
Was it tin, right? Mm-hmm. Putting tin on top.
And obviously tin because it's very hot. And so the tin really helps to reflect a lot of the sun, keep the house just a little bit cooler. And Stephen was actually kind of a jack of all trades. What other projects did you work on when it came to the house?
Pulling nails.
Pulling nails.
Really loud, Steve.
Pulling nails.
He was the master of that. I think he was pulling nails faster than we could hammer them in crookedly. So
Why did you have to pull the nails? Yeah.
Because people didn't put them in like straight, and so they bent.
So these are nails that people have been nailing in, and they went crooked, and you'd have to remove them so they could try again.
Yeah.
What was there when you started? Was the house, did it have a frame to it, or did you have to start from building the frame of the house and
There is
put
a-
the trusses up and the roof?
there's a patch of dirt and rocks. We laid the cement foundation, which actually, Stephen, you helped a lot with that too. We had a small group of guys and girls that worked together for that, and were covered from about shin down in cement.
You guys built the frame to pour the cement
And
in.
so we did the frame to pour the cement in. We mixed the cement, and then once that had cured a little bit, we actually put together the frames, like for the walls and the doorways and stuff like that. We literally built it from the ground up.
It was a flat roof?
No, it was an angled roof to help keep rain falling off in a I don't know, an easier fashion, I would suppose.
One of our young people suggested, as one of our young people said, oh, that's so the snow can run off.
Yeah.
Only it doesn't really snow down in
Not so much
Juarez.
snow.
No. But lots of rain, especially in the wet season, absolutely. And
Who did the electric and the plumbing and all of that?
we didn't do any plumbing, but we did basic electric. It was, we had 2 interns that worked on the site with us from Casas, and they taught us how to do things step by step. So they taught us how to do basic electric. Some of us already had the skill sets going in. Steven's really handy with tools and does a lot of projects with his dad at home. Some of us have done builds like this before. Erin and I actually worked on a house together in 2006, and so some of us have some very basic skills. One of our guys actually installs doors for a living, and so he got to install the door. But otherwise, Jamie and JL, who were our interns, they taught us how to do everything. So if we weren't sure how to do the electric, they took the time to teach us that. If we didn't know how to do the cement, they taught us that. When it came to putting up chicken wire and stucco, one of the other long-term Casas employees, his name is Miguel. He's actually a pastor down in Juarez. Miguel is the king of stucco, and so he taught us all about that. And so there was always somebody to teach you how to do it along the way, or the interns would teach either one of the adults or one of the students to do it, and then say, okay, now go teach the other members of your group how to do this. And so it really forced us to listen to each other, even if maybe we didn't think we'd have to when we started.
There were no experts on our team when it comes to building a house.
Right.
None of us had none of us could have done this by ourselves or anything like that. And most people had never ever built a house, worked on building a house before. So the power of just the testimony of a community coming together to work together, listening to each other, and being able to work well with one another.
This may be a loaded question because I spent the whole evening with Andrew last night.
Yes.
Hearing a lot of this. Tell us about what kind of plumbing they have in these houses.
Do you want to talk about the toilet? No? Well, it's not unlike an outhouse, or at least the bathroom we had access to on the work site. It didn't flush. You had to make sure that you threw your toilet paper in the basket next to you, or in the pickle bucket next to you. We had to bring toilet paper with us on the work site to make sure there was enough to go around throughout the day. And a kind of unspoken rule of thumb was, so long as you go to the bathroom at least once while you're on the work site, you're probably hydrated just enough. But yeah, we used a neighbor's bathroom, and it wasn't even like part of the house. It was just its own little
99% of the toilets
stuff.
in Juarez cannot handle
toilet.
paper going
Yeah.
down. Like the pipes are too small. So all paper that you use gets put in a receptacle next to the toilet.
Yep.
Do they actually have a sewer system, or is it just a pit?
Not so much that we would sort of recognize it. So, I mean, it depends on where you are in the city. In some parts of the city, yes, there's absolutely a sewer system. The further you get out from the center of the city, the less available, like full-on sewer plumbing is. So.
We stayed at the Shane Harris Outreach Center, and it's otherwise known as the Shock, and it's kind of one of the main buildings that Casas uses when they're housing different groups, and that was one of the only facilities, if not the only facility we had that we could actually flush toilet paper and had running water available to us as it would be here. So, but we couldn't drink the water. It was not necessarily that it was unsafe for us. It just they use different chemicals to treat their water, and so instead of taking the risk of having any of us get incredibly sick, we just bought tons of water for us to drink from local gas stations. What's that?
You're not going to be able to help.
No, actually, none of us got sick. There were no issues with dehydration or food poisoning until we got back into the States. We went to a burrito place in El Paso, and about half the team, throughout the night and the next morning woke up going, oh, this is bad.
Was the building site in a built-up neighborhood, or was it sort of out by itself?
It was probably more rural than what some of us were expecting. We definitely were not within the city of Juarez. I think we were kind of like on the
south end of it.
Yeah, the south end of it. So, I mean, there were houses and stuff around, but it wasn't crowded by any means. Not where we were.
And was the house you were building similar to existing houses or different?
It depended on where you were. The Casas houses all looked the same, even if they were painted different colors. They're all roughly 17 by 20 feet. So they're relatively small, but some other houses were that same size. Some were bigger or just longer, but they were all, a lot of the ones that we saw anyway near where we were building had a lot of the same, stucco siding and, tin roofs or just slanted roofs that, kept the house cooler. Some places had air conditioning units, some just had lots of windows that were thrown open.
Were there neighbors watching you build, or was it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes their neighbors were watching us build. Sometimes they would sit back and enjoy drinks while we were working, but they were really interested in what we were doing, and they were actually very welcoming and accommodating. We had multiple neighbors offer us bathrooms or just other things. A couple came and actually helped either by, holding things that we needed to nail in, or by just generally encouraging us, kind of acting as like a little cheerleading section, which was really cool. And it was interesting though, because only a handful of us on the team actually speak Spanish, and so that made conversations very interesting. I was one of the go-to people for translating, which, as one who hadn't really used my Spanish within the last decade or so, it was a little challenging. I remembered more than I expected, but suddenly I needed this whole new set of vocabulary for construction work that I had never ever really used before. But thank God for the high school students that practice this on a regular basis, because more often than not, if I had a blank on what a word was, they were able to give me about 2 or 3 different options to work with. And Google Translate was a huge help, especially when we had students working with some of the neighborhood kids to keep them off the work site, because a little dangerous, a little peligroso, which is Spanish for dangerous. So better to have them go play with the kids and play kickball or whatever than, hey, look, there's a nail in my foot because I was running through the house build. That did not happen. But
it was wonderful to have the family who was moving into the house there on the site with us almost the entire time.
Yes.
They helped out. They made us food on the last day. We had lunch with them, and even like some of their extended family came to be a part of it. It was wonderful. So it wasn't like we went in, did this thing, and left without building relationships with the people, or the people who were moving into the house. They just let us do the work and they just moved in. That didn't happen at all. They were right. They were present, both in physicality and mentality. The day we showed up, Ramona, the mother and wife of the house, just lost it as soon as she saw our team of 26 on the site. Because we were there before she was. She came around the corner and just immediately began to just openly weep. She was so grateful. So she was changed in that moment.
Well, and one of the first questions I asked her was if, I explained who we were and asked if we could help. I had heard a gentleman speak from the Yakima Reservation in Washington State back in the spring, and he said, having been on the receiving end of that kind of aid, he said, when you're going in as a guest or a visitor, you ask if you can help and explain what you'd like to do and wait for their response, because he said, it's easy to just kind of go in and say, well, we're doing this for you because you're poor and you need our help. And he said, you have to remember that you're going into a culture that is not yours. Respect that. And so we asked her if we could help her and her family by building this house. And it was one of the first times she'd been asked a question like that, which I realized how powerful asking something as simple as that can be, because it kind of refocuses us all, in our own humanity and restores dignity and keeps that going.
How complete was the house and how big was it?
The house was about 17 by 20, and we didn't mud or anything on the inside. We didn't paint at all, except for trim around the windows and the door. But other than that, they'll finish mudding and painting and anything that they want to do to make it more homey. They'll take care of that. But we took care of, I'd say the bulk of the structural work, don't you think?
Yeah.
So we were in Mexico, and the first day we laid the foundation and put the walls up. One of the cool things was the family was pretty much there the whole time. They weren't required to be, but they were there and they wanted to help out, and they jumped in the hammer every once in a while, and they'd come and try to play with you, and it was hard to understand them because I don't speak Spanish.
Here, honey, could you talk more loudly, please? Thank you.
Thank God for, Google Translate. Because without Google Translate, I would have never known what I was saying, what they were saying. And it was cool because I could give them my phone and then he could type and then I could read what he was trying to say to me.
Wow.
And it was nice.
They had a 13-year-old son, Angel, that we all kind of got to know, and he kind of became part of our group. And he would come and play with us, and he helped us build his own house, and he was really excited about that.
Did he speak English?
No. So he was the one that we would Google Translate with all the time. And then we had two interns with us, Jamie and JL, and they were two college girls from Iowa and Anaheim. And they spent their summer in Juarez building 10 houses. They built 10. We were their last build, and they were with us every step of the way, and they kind of became part of our group too. So that was good. We had a couple extra additions once we got there.
The interns made a huge difference, and they were really helpful.
What did you build? What did you do personally?
I did the soffit of the
soffit?
house. Yeah. And put up black wall and chicken wire and the drywall.
I was wondering about all the chicken wire. I saw that on the Facebook pictures, and it looked like in the background it almost looked like a prison or something. There was just chicken wire everywhere. What's up with that?
That was to hold up the stucco that we put on the side of the house. So then, they would stay on the wall, because without that, it would all just fall down after we put it up. But that kind of held it up.
in the background.
Yeah, the neighbors.
Like
The neighbors.
Oh, the barbed wire, yeah.
Razor wire, yeah.
I'm not sure what that was
It was
about.
the neighbors. The neighbors like compound. He had like these tall walls and like all the chicken wire on it.
I'm just going to insert that having lived in Latin America, everybody has tall walls and razor wire. It's just a thing. That's just what they do.
They had lots of dogs
Yeah.
in that compound.
Everybody has it.
How big was the home you made?
400 square feet. Right?
And then, like, how many rooms was it?
3 rooms.
There was
One
2
big room.
bedrooms, and then there was like 1 common area.
Yeah.
So no indoor plumbing?
Nope.
So what did you learn from this?
We got a lot of perspective about other areas of the world, and that we are more fortunate than they are by far. They didn't have any plumbing. All their water was in huge buckets, and a truck would come around every day, and they would honk the horn, and anybody who needed water would go out and be like, yeah, I need some water today. And so they would fill up these huge basin kind of things with water, and that's all they had for, however long they could afford water.
Did these people have work? Did they work?
Yes. The parents of the family both worked in a factory. They both made like $52 a week or something like that. So they definitely needed a house, and they currently live about a half hour from where their new house is. I don't know if they've moved in yet. They didn't stay there the night it was finished, but yeah. And then they have a grown son that has his own family, and within the next couple of months, they're building another house right next to it, so they can all live in a similar area.
How did they get to their jobs?
They had a truck. Most people have cars there, but they're
nothing special really to us. The mother is 46, and then the father was 60, and it was their first home really. And Angel was just super excited to have his own room, which I thought was pretty neat because I feel like we definitely take that for granted.
Yeah.
And we at the end, was it our last night? We had to go around and say something that we were gonna work on when we came back to America. And I said one of my things would be to not shop as much because they don't even get the pleasures of going shopping for anything that they need unless anything that they want unless they need it, which is a big eye opener to me because all the stuff a majority of the things that we have in our homes we don't really need.
But everything that they have is a necessity, and you don't see any extra
How many people in the family?
There were 3 that were living in the house that we built, but there were another 4, I think, that
There
were.
was 4, yeah. And then there was another.
Yeah.
The adult son's wife was pregnant with another child while we were there, and she's 8 months right now, so she's due in a month approximately.
So you're saying there are 8 people living in this place?
No,
there's
not in this
3
house.
in this house, but
And then the next house will be 5.
and they're all, it's 2 generations of the same family. But in order to have casas built on the house, they have to own the slab of land. But it was nice because we were all separate people. We were all individuals, but we definitely grew together as a community. And we were definitely individuals. We were very different people. But it was nice to see how we could all come together as a unit.
So how were the dogs? Friendly?
They were all very friendly, but we couldn't pet any of them because we didn't know if they didn't have shots or anything.
We weren't supposed to feed them, but that was a little hard for me.
Yeah.
We might have slipped on that a little bit.
What do you think God showed you the entire week you were there? What lessons did you learn?
I think one of the biggest things we learned is that God hears all prayers, whether it's in English, Spanish. And one of the things, we went to a church service on Wednesday night at Miguel's church, and he took care of the place we stayed, and his family cooked food for us all week. And while we were there, you had the priest praying, and then you had a lady singing, and then everybody else was praying different words at the same time. But it didn't make any difference to God. He heard all of it. And so I think that was one of the biggest things that we learned, is that he still hears it.
I also think that when you have nothing, or when you have very minimal, it's still you still should give, because the people that we stayed with, Miguel's family was in the corridors where we were kind of, and he was the pastor for Cases Por Christo, and they gave us so much more than a family from America that I've ever met would. They made us 2 or 3 meals a day, and they were they were just like so genuine and like caring and nice.
Were you surprised at how small 400 square feet was? For a house? Yeah. Anybody have a room that big at home?
My dining room.
There was one point we were in the church and they were singing their songs, and obviously we couldn't understand the words because it was in Spanish, or most of us couldn't. And then you're like, wait a second, I think I know this song. We sang this in church, and it was like they're the same songs,
Same
but
melody?
yeah. What song was that? You know?
I don't know what it was
song it was,
called.
but I recognized it. I'm like, we've sang that in church before. And it was just kind of cool because you're like, they sing the same things here.
Anybody get hurt? Smashed fingers, cuts?
Nope. I came back with gingivitis actually from the water.
Oh yeah. My brother burned his arm in Juarez. Yeah, over there. He burned his arm on a drill. They had a big drill with a big bit that they would go through the.
For like electrical.
Yeah, and they'd run the electric through it, and he was drilling it, and then he put the bit down, and he put his arm on the bit, and the bit was super hot, so he got burned. But I don't think other than that, nobody got seriously hurt.
No.
So that was good.
Nothing major.
Overall, a really good experience.
What'd you learn about love while you were down there?
Everybody, like, the sense of community is way different. Like, everybody helps out, like, with other families. Like, every day we would have neighbors coming down to help us, and, like, people would come out of their houses and be like, oh, what's going on here? And they all
A neighbor
helped
let
out.
us use their, like, bathroom whenever we needed it on the work site.
And they let us,
electricity.
yeah.
What is a bathroom to them? How do they?
It's like an outhouse. With like a real toilet.
It was a toilet that led to a hole in the ground, basically.
With like wood.
It was all scrap pieces of plywood, making an outhouse.
I locked myself in the bathroom and Haley had to help me get out.
Yeah. we don't know.
What's about the toilets and the holes?
I'm assuming, I mean...
We didn't see that.
Yeah.
No, they probably put something.
I mean, you can't flush, so I'm assuming they have to.
Yeah. Yes. They were. They went to Miguel's church. And yeah,
Wasn't that one of the requirements is their priest has to like sign the application, and then they send it in, and all the priests look it over, and then like the executives of Casas look it over,
yes.
And they have to like apply for it, and it takes. They say it can take anywhere from 6 months to 3 years.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I'm going to ask
was 6
because I
months
live
for
in
that.
Texas, and so I'm very well aware of our border issues.
Yeah.
There. Did you ever, in your travels, feel unsafe?
No.
I didn't.
Kind of.
Well,
there was one point where there was one guy that like stopped our van, and that was a little uncomfortable. But other than that part, and I think that's just because we drove into a kind of a badish area.
I don't think if anything would have happened, we would have been harmed because of how many people we had and how many adults we had. But there was one point where a man came up to our truck and was asking for the food we had in there and asking for money for soda. So, I mean, it's nothing different than what you would see in Chicago or New York.
Or like,
and my daughter did many mission trips, and actually her one bad experience was in New Orleans. I would never send her to Mexico, and then I sent her to New Orleans, and she had a very violent experience.
So, I mean, it really wasn't anything different than what you would see here, but it was a little bit out of...
Supposed to share the food if they stopped you?
What?
We're supposed to give them food if they stopped you?
We didn't.
No.
No, you're not supposed to.
You going back?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a bag of chips on the front of the dash. He was like,
Are we going back?
Paper.
I would like to.
And we were like,
eventually, yeah. It was either.
We ended up hiding it.
I think it was Eli. Eli, was it you? Where you were talking to the mom and you said, "This isn't goodbye. It's
that was
us."
Josh.
Yeah. Josh was like, "It's not goodbye. It's a see you later." So I'm assuming that most of us are planning on going back eventually.
Would it be in that same village?
Yes.
Probably, yeah.
Alright, so my name is Molly, and when we were in Mexico, we like met the family and everything like that, and they have this 13-year-old son named Angel, which is actually Spanish for angel.
What's that?
There was a family, the family that we built the house for, they had a 13-year-old son named Angel, which is Spanish for angel, and he was amazing, like the sweetest kid you'll ever meet, super funny, and so I really saw God through him. And then something that I'll take back from the trip is definitely that to make every day count, because we built the house in 4 days, and if we hadn't taken every day, we wouldn't have been able to finish that house for the family. So definitely taking every day and making it good. Yeah, exactly.
My name is Ruby, and I think that some things I will take back from the trip, or some things that I learned about, is especially living in community, because we were a group of 26 people and we were together for like 24/7 for like a week, and it got a little hard at times, but I learned a lot about people and how they react to different situations and stress, and just how they show their faith. And I thought it was really cool seeing how different people in our group show their faith, and also the people in Juarez, because we went to a church service on Wednesday night, and just seeing the way they prayed and like worshiped God, well, it was a lot different than what I'm used to. But I don't know, it was just cool seeing how they could do that differently, but know that God would still like hear them.
How was it different?
There was a lot of
It was
like
in Spanish.
Well, yeah, it was on Spanish.
Spanish?
Oh,
A little bit, yeah.
There was a lot of parts of the service where like multiple people were talking at once. Like Miguel, he was the pastor. He would be like preaching, I guess, and then like another older lady would be like singing, and then random people would just shout things out during the service. It was pretty cool. I don't know.
Yeah, and it was like really cool at the church service to like know that like they sing the same songs that we do, but in Spanish, and like so you could like sing along in English and while they're singing in Spanish. So that was really cool.
So did the family participate in building the house?
Yeah. Yeah. What was the dad's name? Luis. He definitely helped out a lot. Angel helped out a lot. Ramona helped out.
Oh,
yeah, she helped out too.
Yeah, they were like every day that we were there, the family was there too, and they would either be like watching us or helping us, or a lot of times we didn't have as many jobs as we had people, so some of the people would be just talking to the family or the neighbor kids that would come over, and just trying to have fun with them and speak a little Spanish with them.
Just 3 in that family?
Yeah, so there's 3 in the family that we built the house for, but then Angel has an older brother who has 2 little ones, a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. And so they came every day too, so we got to play with them. And then they had neighbor kids come out and like say hi to us and everything like that, and that was cool. And they're younger too.
What kind of work did the parents do?
I don't know. They hammered a lot of nails, like they did a lot of the stuff that we did.
But I mean, were they employed?
Oh, I thought you meant like on the house. No,
I think they were, because I thought that was one of the requirements for like when you apply through the church to get like a house built for you. I think that's one of the requirements, is you need to be employed, but I'm not sure.
I don't know what. Yeah.
So how big was the house?
Not.
23.
3 rooms.
So it's probably like.
Okay, kitchen.
So yeah, like you walk into the house and no bathroom.
No bathroom.
No, they in Mexico, the bathrooms are very like, it's pretty much just porta potties, but it's like a toilet, and then you don't flush it, so it's like a legit toilet, and then you just kind of like throw away the toilet paper, and so like if we had used the bathroom on the site, we had to go to the neighbor's house, and then they had like a little shack, and then there was a toilet, and then there's a bucket for the toilet paper.
So where is the house in a neighborhood?
Yeah.
Do they have water and pipes coming to the house?
No. So it's the shell. It's the shell of the house. Wow.
And
Could you repeat that question?
How many square feet?
I want to say like 20. I know one of the numbers is 17.
Yeah, it's like 17 one way.
17 and 20.
17. Yeah, 17 one way 20.
It's pretty small.
It's a small house. Yeah.
17 by 20. How many square feet is that?
340, but
140.
20 by 20.
340. 340? Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, so it's like 340. Around 340.
Are there other houses just like in this area?
I didn't see any ones just in that area, but we saw other ones around Juarez that were like that.
Yeah, we actually visited.
I don't know. We didn't get to see them furniture the house.
Where did you wash your hands?
Did we wash our hands?
There was I was trying to think like, where did we wash our hands?
Yeah.
We washed our hands, I promise. No, there was like the bathroom, and then you walked over, and then they had just like this big water thing.
Like just a tank, and then you
and then they had like a little thing of soap, and you kind of just like washed your hands under there.
It was outdoors.
Yes, it was outdoors.
So is the like a shower is outdoors too then?
I didn't see a shower when we were there.
Did you shower?
Yes, we showered.
Yeah, when we were staying at the Shock.
We stayed at this place called the Shock.
Have you showered since you got home?
Yes.
I've just grown used to it.
Yeah, I can think.
2 minutes.
2 minutes?
Yep.
What kinds of things did you eat?
Amazing food.
Yeah, Miguel's wife and like their 3 daughters prepared breakfast and dinner for us every day, and there was like rice and tacos and like quesadillas.
Really good chicken.
Yeah.
Really good chicken.
Really good chicken.
What was the first thing you did when you got home?
Slept.
They just asked what's the first thing they did when they got home. The answer was sleep.
The first thing was like text my friends on my phone, because when I was there I didn't have service, and I like hadn't talked to my friends in like a week.
So at 2 in the morning you were texting?
Well, no, I slept first and then I texted.
So what is one thing you're most grateful for living in the States?
Oh man.
I think just having a house,
Yeah.
because there are people who don't even have houses there.
Yeah. And I'd say the same thing for me, like having a house with running water, and then like
just the quality of everything we have is.
Was there a hospital? If any of us got like really sick or something like that, we'd actually have to go back to Texas to go to the hospital, because I don't know why we didn't go to Mexico. I don't either, but like like none of us got like hurt or anything like that, but they'd said like, okay, if somebody gets dehydrated or somebody needs to just like get care now, we'd have to go to the Texas hospital.
People in Mexico had a baby in Mexico. Probably at their house, honestly. Yeah.
What was that question? They have a baby. They have a baby in Mexico. Yes. They have the babies in Mexico.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they'd be U.S. citizens. But they're not. Probably they have midwives.
Probably.
I would think so. Dirt roads, paved roads, what type of transportation?
Part of it was a lot of gravel, very bumpy.
Like where we were staying was about 20 or so minutes from. Thanks. Where we were staying was about like 20 or so minutes from the work site where we were building, and for the first part, like the main road was paved. There are a lot of speed bumps, so those are interesting going over them in the van. But then once we like pulled into the little neighborhood area, it was all like gravel.
Yeah, they have speed bumps everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like you can't go this far without going over a speed bump.
A lot of, you see on TV a lot of like roaming dogs.
Yeah. There are a lot of
stray
dogs, and we weren't allowed to pet them because we could get sick from them because they were strays. And so they pretty much treat dogs there like we treat deer. You kind of just like, you leave them alone, or you kind of just like shoo them away. It sucks because you can't pet the dogs. I really wanted to pet the dogs.
Of all God's little creatures, what did you do with the most? Cockroaches, flies?
Thank you. Flies.
There are a lot of flies.
A lot of flies.
Like when
we had a cockroach in our room too.
Yeah. when we were at the work site, and one of Angel's nephews, the 1-year-old, he was like in his stroller, and there would just be like flies buzzing all over him. Yeah. And we'd just be like sitting, like shooing them off and stuff.
Were there a lot of mosquitoes?
No, not a lot.
No.
There were definitely mosquitoes, but like there wasn't nearly as much as we have here.
So, what grade are you guys in?
We're gonna be seniors.
Okay, so what are you going to do with the rest of your life when you graduate? What are your plans? Is it something with mission work or help just medical thing, anything like that?
Well, this was my first mission trip, and I really liked the experience, so it sort of made me want to, if not do more mission work, at least travel in the future. So I'm hoping to do something with that in college. And I really liked going to Mexico because I've taken Spanish, so being able to use a second language. So I think that'd be cool. I don't know.
This was actually my 5th mission trip, because I've been going on these since I was in 6th grade. And I really want to like help people and everything like that with my life, and I really want to be a counselor. And so I think that helped with this trip.
Were you concerned at all with any of the mosquito bites or anything like that?
Not really.
No, we all got updated on our shots, so we didn't have to worry about that.
I'd say as a whole, we all felt pretty safe while we were there, which is nice.
And God was there with you, so.
No?
And thank you for everything you did.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Robin Laker. They had it all. They weren't. Usually we go to the 10 o'clock service, so you might not have seen me. This is my first time being at the 8 o'clock, so it's interesting. Mexico was really cool. I have 2 kids in the youth group. My son's up there, Steven. He's 13, and my daughter is 17. So because they felt called to come, I was a little nervous, as a mom should be, and so I decided to come with them. And it was a really amazing experience. I've been on mission trips before, but this one, the thing that stood out the most to me is we were a group of 26 individuals, and we were individuals, and we just came together and we were working as one. Everybody had a job to do, and everybody did it. Like I said, my son, who's the youngest, his job, pretty much what you guys say, was pulling out nails. Yep. Everybody yelled Steven, and he'd run with the hammer and he'd get it out. The place where we started at, oh my goodness, it looked like a field. There were rocks and stuff everywhere, dog poop. I mean, it was just kind of nasty. Place I wouldn't want to live. And yet we put the slab of cement down and built the house, and it was just amazing. One of the things that I thought was really cool is the family was Ramona. She was 46. Miguel was 60, and they had a son who was 13. So I could kind of relate to that, being around those same ages, and my children too. So we got Angel to come, their son, and help build the house. He did some stuff, and he was really skittish at first, and then it was like he was part of our group too. He didn't speak very much English. I don't speak a lot of Spanish, but yet somehow we all came together, and technology's wonderful, because there were apps that we'd type in something and he'd look at it and it would speak it, and he could read it, and we'd communicate back and forth that way. So it was really neat to see some of those things. I don't know if you guys want to say stuff.
Yeah,
I could talk forever.
Thank God for Google Translate. Pretty much all.
Yeah, I feel like Angel kind of came in and we were talking to him every day, playing games with them, and I think one of the biggest things I noticed while we were there is the sense of community. It's just completely different. They all come around and they help each other. Like, we had neighbors every day coming and help us build, and we had just all their friends. There were 6 or 7 neighbor kids that would come and just watch us every day, and they would play soccer in the field right next to us, and they were just awesome kids. They didn't speak any English, but I mean, we kind of still got
They brought their phones.
Yeah, they brought their phones, and we could kind of communicate with hand gestures and everything, and everybody would kind of help, and it was a good sense of community. And they used everything they have. Most of the houses were made out of scrap pieces of plywood and just whatever they had. The fence,
wire from your mattress bedding.
Yeah, bed springs were used as fences everywhere.
Pallets
were used all the time. What else?
everyone that I've met in Mexico was extremely nice. And I asked Angel what he thought of American people, and he said, "We think you're racist for the most part." And then I said, "Well, what do you think of us?" And he said, "Well, we all think that you're good people." So I definitely think that we touched their lives by giving them their house, because not only just for our sakes, but also for like Americans in general, because I feel like it definitely gives them a new perspective on us, and it gives us a new perspective on them, because I think we generalize people based on a few things, but they were extremely kind to us and very giving, and they didn't have as much as we do. So
the house we built was probably smaller than a 2-car garage, and it was a 3-bedroom. So if you can wrap your brain around that, my house is 2,600 square feet. Our garage we have a 4-car garage, so that would have been an apartment complex, our garage.
It's as big as my dining room.
So, they didn't have a lot, but what they had, they were very, very gracious for. Actually, Angel, the son, asked me how much we were getting paid to build his house. And I was like, nothing. We actually paid to build your house. We sold sweets and stuff to raise money for it. And he was just like blown away that somebody would come and do this for free for them. The cool thing, too, is the place where we built, there was a lot next to it. And the family did have some older children who have their own families. And I think it was in a couple months, is that right?
Yep.
They were building, through Cases Por Christo, they were building their other family members a house right next to them. And the families don't get these houses just for free. They have to buy the property. So they have to contribute something towards it, which I thought was pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Like I said, the property isn't anything I would have went, yeah, let's buy this. Because it really wasn't.
It's kind of just a gravel slab of land. But we also had 2 interns with us at all times, and their names were Jamie and JL, and they were college girls one of them was from Anaheim, California, and the other one was from Iowa. And they came down, and it's a 3-month commitment, and they just build all summer with the interns and with other groups, and they give up 3 months of their time to come, and they have locations in Guatemala, Dominican Republic, and Mexico. And these girls, they became part of our group too. They were super kind, very helpful, and they told us how to build the house. So that was helpful. But
another neat thing that we had is where we stayed was called the Shack. And if you can imagine, we were fenced in a property, and then this place where we stayed had cement floors, and that was pretty much it on the inside. There was different rooms and bathrooms and stuff, but it wasn't, glamorous places to live or stay. And there was a house in the compound area, and that was the pastor for one of the churches. And his family came and made our food. They were actually really cool. A lot of us liked Mexican food, so we said, what's in your salsa? And Miguel, the pastor, he could somewhat speak Spanish, probably the best out of everybody there. And so he wrote down for us how to make his salsa. And the next day I was kind of joking with him, okay, we got the salsa, how do you make the chips? And he talked to his wife and brought me in the kitchen and showed me how to make chips. I got to make my own chips, and I thought they were part of our meal. Turns out they did that just for me. And it was really kind of touching, because, they didn't have to do this stuff. I actually made them at home yesterday, so it's really neat to see some, food brings us all together.
Yeah.
You guys have any other stories you want to share?
There was a lot of dogs, which made me sad.
Well, you can't pet any of the dogs because they don't have shots.
Yeah,
but
so they're all stray, which is sad.
Yeah, they are all hungry. So do you like to feed them?
We pulled up in our van to the spot one day, and there was probably 5 dogs sitting there just going, okay, we're the welcoming committee. And, we weren't allowed to touch them because we didn't know what they could possibly have, so it's kind of hard for those of us who love animals.
We appreciate you guys going to do that. It's quite a commitment on your part. It certainly helps some people with their life. And thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
Well, the prayers is what kept us all safe. And,
So, you guys
like,
were here to-
apparently in the past, they've had people go to the hospital from dehydration and stuff. So, the prayers and everything kept us safe. And we did have a few kind of scares. Driving in Juarez is a little crazy. If you can imagine roundabouts with no lanes.
We have those here.
No, but like you just went wherever. So
it's kind of a free for all.
Thanks to Erin and Diane driving, they made it pretty good. The weather was incredibly hot. It was pretty much in the 90s every day.
But that is cool for them.
But it was dry heat, as they all joke about, One night we went to church at Miguel's church, and the family that we were building for said to me, "I didn't recognize you guys because you didn't smell." So, I guess I didn't realize we smelled that bad, but
did I? That's nice.
Sitting out in the sun, we must have.
That's funny.
I'm trying to think. An outhouse with a porcelain toilet.
Haley actually had to almost get me out. She actually almost had to grab me a hammer so I could take the nail off so I could get out of the bathroom.
So water was a hot commodity there. You'd see the water truck come around and fill up their tanks of stuff for. I don't know if they drank it. We didn't, but
they did.
Did they?
Yep.
You guys brought your own water?
We had bottled water that we were supplied with every day, and ice from
the Del Rio, which is like their quick trip.
A place where we knew it was going to be safe. We get sick from that.
I did brush my teeth with the water though, and now I have gingivitis. So no. So.
Nobody else got gingivitis, so I mean.
The ER doctor said I just must have had a cut, and then the water got into the cut. But it was worth it.
Yeah. That was the only really sickness we had.
That's so when they have the water tanks, do they have any plumbing in the house?
No.
We didn't really see that.
We have to go outside.
Because we didn't go in the neighbor's house, so to say. Their toilet was kind of like an outhouse.
They had,
there was a washer sitting there with a big tub next to it that I'm guessing it drained out of.
Yeah, it would be my assumption that they didn't, just because all of their electrical stuff was basically outside.
Yeah. They had a big tank of water, and on the bottom it was kind of like just a faucet, and so all the water would kind of come out. So I mean, it wasn't plumbing.
And that's where you washed your hands, basically.
Yeah.
Were you guys able to shower?
Yes. Back in the place where we stayed at the shack, there was showers.
Okay.
We were really blessed.
But we did military style showers.
But we could
water
flush.
was, a hot commodity.
We could flush.
So
we had AC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was. I was blessed. I was like, because it was my first mission trip, and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm going to Mexico. I've never left Wisconsin.
I'm gonna get ginger.
Into Mexico to the shack. And you start now.
To the what?
The shack. That's where we stayed. That's just what it was called.
It was it's a room with four big rooms. So girls were separated into two, and boys were separated into two. Boys had there was 4 beds in the guys' room, and there was 8, 9 girls in each room. So that's where we stayed. That's where we ate most of our meals. We ate all authentic Mexican food, which was pretty exciting.
The first day we got there, we didn't really do anything, but we got to know our interns, and we just kind of hung around at the shack and explored and got to know everybody that lives there. And then we went to work the next day, and I think that was a 10-hour day that we worked. So the first day we put in the concrete base, which took a while and was kind of like time consuming. It took most of the day. And then we got all the frames for the walls put up, and yeah, that was the first day.
The second day we squared the house, and I think that's when we put blackboard and insulation. And then yeah, the roof. We did the roof the second day. Second day we were like, was the second day when we worked 2 times in one day?
No, that was the first day because we went.
It all blends into one.
You said you stayed at the shop. What is that?
It's just a huge area where there's 4 rooms, bathrooms, a kitchen. So
it's a building?
Yeah.
Yeah. Inside like a fenced area. It was closed off from like the neighborhood, but like it was farther out. We weren't in the like populated area of Ciudad Juarez. We were like on the far outside.
Why was it called the shock?
I don't know.
I don't remember. I just
it's some Spanish word that means something.
Everybody was in
shock. No, it's a Spanish word, so I'm sure
well, it was like it was a compound, like it stood for something. I didn't remember.
Okay.
Third day we put up drywall. We did the drip edge, which is like the gutter, except it hangs off the roof, goes down. And then we started drywall.
Was this for a single family?
Did the family stay there and with you or help? Or?
The family came every day that we were there. They had a 30-minute drive from where they were staying before they had the house. And the Angel, who's the 13-year-old boy, he was like very active in helping us with the house, and it was really interesting to see him like build his own house basically.
How big is the house for how many people?
There were 2 bedrooms and then a little like common area, and then
I'm trying to remember, it was like 20 feet by
20 by 17, I think.
Yeah.
So a lot different than the houses that are built here.
Very, very, very different. Any more questions?
Did it have a bathroom? Inside bathroom?
No. All the bathrooms are outside, and you can't throw toilet paper in the toilet. It has to go in a bucket because of the pipes being tiny.
It's like a makeshift outhouse.
What about you guys? Did you have a bathroom where you were?
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the shop. It was like the only place in Juarez that had like functioning bathrooms. So we were very fortunate.
So how far away from the shop was the building site?
Probably like a
15-minute drive.
20-minute drive.
Yeah. And we got to ride in the back of a pickup truck because it's legal there. So there was at least like 12, 13 of us in the back of like a small pickup truck.
Was it hot down there like what we hear it's like out west?
We were there during a colder week, so it was in like the 90s, which wasn't too bad.
It's dry heat. Right?
Yeah, it was dry heat. We were hot because we were working, but it was still like it was a cold week there, so.
Was there something that you remember that was special to you, personally? Or something that took place?
I liked all the neighbor kids that came over and like being able to play with them and talk to them and get to know them and stuff.
Seeing the Angel's mother cry, and when during that end ceremony where we gave them the keys and a Bible which had all our signatures in, and like where they hammered in the Cases Por Christo sign above the door.
Hammered in what?
So there was a sign. So there's different missionaries down there, and they build their own houses. And Cases Por Christo has this tiny sign that they put up on the building,
like a plaque.
Yeah, saying that they built that house, that company.
My like most memorable part about the trip was when we were leaving, and we were like all filing into like the pickup truck, there was like 8 of us, I think, and we all of a sudden I see Josh Koopman crying, which is like, you don't see that happen every day. And so then all of a sudden Molly and like all of us, we start crying, and then they bring Angel comes over and says bye, and then it was just like a bunch of us we were all crying for like maybe like 10 minutes as we were driving out, and it was exciting but sad to leave. Very.
So do you feel connected more to the people that you traveled with?
Definitely.
In a good way?
Yeah.
Good.
This is definitely my favorite mission trip.
How many have you done?
3 now.
And what made this different than the other mission trips that you went on? Why is this your favorite?
Because we all like weirdly, oddly connected very well. Like, we didn't argue. There was no drama between the girls. And it was exciting to wake up every day and like
Y'all wore halos then. Huh?
Yeah. And our interns, Jamie and JL, they made each day very interesting.
How many chaperones for the church?
There's probably like 5 adults.
I think so, yeah.
Did Aaron do any of his devotionals?
Yeah, every night.
Every night, okay.
Every
good.
night.
Okay, everybody. Good for Erin. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sure they were good.
They're pretty good.
Miguel's family. Miguel was like our custodian who looked after the maintenance guy, made sure everything was running, and then he has 3 daughters, and they cooked the food for us.
And it was good.
Yeah.
Their house is like, half of their house is inside the shack area, compound area. So there was the shack, which was like one building, and then on the other side, far across, was Miguel's house. So he stays at the shack compound area.
What time did you guys get started in the morning usually?
We woke up at 7. Oh, we woke up around 6:30, and we tried to leave around 7:30 every morning. But on the last day, we ended up leaving around 9.
Yeah, we got to sleep in last 2 days, which was pretty good. We didn't get to go to the market, but we got to see like the overlook and we saw the whole city, which was really, really pretty. And we got to see mountains. So
Any injuries?
No, Gabriel got hit in the head, but she was okay after like 10 minutes. And then I think she got hit in the head again, but she was good. She was good.
So you got your thumb hurt, right?
Oh yeah, I hit my thumb a lot.
So did you?
Any more mission trips?
Yeah.
Did you feel like your faith was challenged, or that it grew from this experience? Or do you feel more like you were just being a servant and being used to accomplish some work for God?
I think my faith grew, because it's just like, it's interesting to see what like a group of people can do and accomplish in a certain amount of time, and like if you all work together and just
They built that house in 4 days, 31 hours.
4 days,
And 31 hours. How many worked on it?
all 26.
26.
Plus.
And did they move in as soon as it was built?
Yeah. Yeah. When we like gave the house to them, we had lunch right there. They brought food. They cooked food for us, and we actually all had to almost pile into the house because it started raining. So, but then we all walked outside and we were like, oh, it's not that bad. So.
Did they have furniture and things like that to move in so that made it home-like for them?
We're not sure. We didn't stay long enough to see them move all their stuff in,
But they did have stuff to move in.
I'm pretty sure they did, because they were living with their oldest son and his wife and 2 kids and 1 on the way. And they probably were staying in the house about the same size that we were giving them. So
Okay, hi. My name is Molly. And oh, it's really quiet. Louder.
You're gonna have to be loud, and I know you all.
Something that I'm gonna like. One of the things that that's really gonna stick with me on the trip is that when we were down there and like building the house for the family, we met a boy named Angel, which is actually Spanish for angel, and he's like the sweetest kid you'll ever meet. And and he was like kind of like where I saw God in a person kind of a thing, and he's like this, he's just a super sweet guy. And something that like kind of changed, I just hit my head, something that I guess like I'm gonna take away from the trip is like to make every day count, because we built a house in 4 days, and without us working hard on either any of one of those days, we wouldn't have finished the house. So kind of just making every day count. And yeah.
My name's Josh. I guess what I took out of the trip was just like my whole like perspective on Mexico changed, because I saw like what it was really like, not just like stereotypes that you hear. So like I guess like being there, meeting the people. We asked Angel, we asked the boy that we built the house for, what he thought of Americans. He said racists, and we said, what do you think of us? And he said good people. So I don't know, just meeting the kids and hanging out with them just changed my perspective. 4.
Three.
Wait, 3.
3.
No, one child
One
and the
child,
2
2
parents. I was thinking of
No. No English.
a little bit, like barely.
Interpreter?
No.
We had a couple people that knew somewhat Spanish. A little bit.
We used Google Translate mostly.
That helped a lot.
Yeah.
How big was the house?
400 and some square feet, not much.
And I heard it was 3 rooms.
Yes, 3 rooms.
And so I figure one has to be a kitchen, and one has to be a bedroom. Are there 2 bedrooms?
2 bedrooms. There's no bathroom.
There's no bathroom?
They make their own bathroom outside.
Not really like a kitchen either.
No plumbing.
It's like,
Oh, it's not a kitchen?
Well, yeah.
I mean, a room
well, there's
that
like a
could
room
be
that
a
could be the kitchen, yeah,
kitchen,
but it's
They
not
use
like.
it for everything, but except for their bedrooms.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did they speak English?
Very, very little.
Did you speak Spanish?
Not really.
But you could communicate, huh?
Somewhat,
Yeah.
But somehow you understood that he thought Americans were racist and that you all
Oh, that was
agreed.
over the phone. Google Translate.
Google Translate. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we took our phones out during, like, when we had downtime and talked to him and all that stuff, and he'd type out stuff in Spanish and then it'd translate to English, and then we did the vice versa kind of thing.
Okay.
Do you guys have any? Yeah, go.
Your name is?
Andrew. I'm Andrew, and the number one thing I probably took out of the trip is, like I said, it's a tiny house that we're building compared to like what we would think of a house. Just 16 by, what was it, 20? 17 by
22.
17 by 22 concrete slab. And they were just so grateful and gracious that we were there. Their family was like sobbing. We went to a church service for them, and they were there as well. They were just crying that we were giving them this house. And like for us, it was like still this tiny 3-room house, 2-bedroom. At some of our bedrooms maybe like similar to the size of the actual house. And this is the first house that they would have that they can lock a door or actually have legitimate shelter from the weather. And yeah, just being around like the neighborhood, seeing houses built out of literally pallets and of wood and just like whatever they can find to make a shelter. And we were there to give them a home, and just kind of makes you grateful for what you have and makes you think a little bit.
Do you guys have any questions?
Did they have any water facilities? Any electricity?
Electricity, yeah. We put electricity in the house.
They had these big plastic bins, and they'd have water trucks come through and fill them up.
Okay. In other words, they didn't have the actual plumbing.
No.
Is there a reason for the size of the slab? What did it just money?
I think it was just material-wise what
material-wise.
they do.
And what was the average size of the family?
There was 3 people living in the house. Because Angel has an older brother, but he's got his own family, and he's got like 2 little kids, one on the way, and then so they were all living with them, and then we built them a house, and now they each have their own place to go.
Was this in the city itself, or was it in a country area?
It's pretty far
more
out
country.
from
Do they have to help at all?
They didn't have to, but they did.
Yeah. That wasn't a requirement?
No. But they were there the entire week and they helped out.
What was the wall behind the house that we saw?
The neighbors.
That was
basically the neighbor's fence.
Yeah, so their backyard is their neighbor's fence. Yeah.
Because it's like from here, it's...
Basically, they have like a house built around their house to protect them, I guess.
Yeah, and there's like a razor wire on top of it so nobody goes over. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of like what you see. Like you just see a house and then you see like the big fence and then you just see like barbed wire or razor wire or just something. So
How would you describe your feeling when you went down compared to your feeling now?
not as scared of Mexico. Because you hear like all the bad things about Mexico, but in reality, like they're some of the nicest people.
What did the father do for a living?
I don't know. Do you?
He was worked in the factory of Pemex, which is like similar to their gasoline company in Mexico. So it'd be like working at a mobile factory here or something similar to
How
that.
were these families chosen? Why did this?
They have to fill out an application through their church, and then it takes sometimes from 6 months to a few years to get accepted.
Do you know how long these people were on a waiting list?
6 months.
They were only 6 months.
I would like the two guys to respond to my question. Feeling going down versus how you feel now.
Probably what
Change your life.
Yeah, what I was talking about earlier, just changing how you think of what you have and being grateful for everything. Just after seeing all of that, what people were happy living with and what we were happy living with here is complete opposites.
I guess like my feeling was like more against Mexicans, like just in general, and then like now being more open to it.
Any other questions?
Where did you get the blueprints for how to make this house?
We had 2 interns and they led us through the whole build.
They let you do what?
They led us through the whole build. So like they had like the book they knew how to build the whole house. They built several of these. So they like guided us and showed us how to do everything.
And that was through the organization that we worked with.
Yeah.
Were the
Were they on site for the whole 4 days?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
They were on site and they were with us off the site.
Yeah,
the whole
they
time.
stayed with us.
Okay.
Oh, where did you stay?
We stayed at this place called The Shack. It was a really big building. That was a pretty big building.
There was a huge like rock wall, probably like 6 feet tall. It was like cinder blocks around the whole thing, and it was huge. And inside there is a home that, what's his name? Miguel, the guy that he like is employed by Cases Por Christo. So he is in there and he takes care of us. Him and his family cooked for us all week. And so his house is in there. They have a warehouse with a bunch of trailers with all the tools in it. And then they have the shack, which is like the building that we all slept in.
And it's like the people that we were, like the interns that helped us build the house, were telling us that it's the only place in, I think, just in Juarez that you can flush a toilet with toilet paper.
I thought you didn't build them a bit.
We were like where we were staying.
Yeah.
How many hours of sleep did you get?
Went to bed around 11, 12, got up
6,
7. So like 6-7 hours.
So it wasn't
What
bad.
did you think of the food?
It was
Amazing.
good, but spicy.
It's very spicy. Yeah. They tell you that it's not spicy at all and then your mouth is on fire.
You think they toned it down for you a little bit?
I have no idea.
I just don't think they thought it was hot.
Yeah, they didn't think it was spicy, but I thought it was gonna die. So
What was the weather like while you were there?
it was beautiful.
It was hot.
It's hot.
It never reached 100 though. It was like in the 90s while we were
Felt
there.
like 100. It was hot.
Except when you were in the roof, then it was hot, right?
Yeah.
So when the house was completed, was there a blessing, or can you tell us about that?
You want to talk about it?
Yeah, there was a dedication where Miguel, the host family that we stayed with, he's actually like a
priest.
A priest or pastor. They have their own church, and that's how you actually get the house. Is like you're in his congregation, at least for this area, and then they apply through him. So he was there with us when we were doing the dedication. After it was done, there's a blessing. He did it in Spanish, so we didn't fully understand what was saying, but yeah, then we presented them with a Bible, with some other papers on the organization that we worked with, keys for the house, and then
Medallions. Oh yeah, the medallions.
Oh yeah, who was that? Megan?
Megan, yeah.
Had some medallions that we presented as well, and then the last thing was a plaque, which is nailed on the house, kind of like give them an address type thing, which was given to us by the organization, which is Cases Por Christo.
So how were you people determined to do this project? How was this arranged?
We signed up for it.
Yeah.
So how many were there all total?
26 plus 2 interns.
You all work on this. All of you work on the same house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you paint walls and? No.
We painted the trim of the windows and the door.
I did see that. I thought that trim was beautiful.
Yeah.
I like that color.
Yeah, and then the gray was just.
Yeah, everything else is left to them for.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
We did drywall and installation on the inside.
Okay.
So.
Any other questions?
How hot was it when you were working?
Pretty hot. Not hundreds.
On and on, because there are lots of stories to share. Thank you. If you'll take your seats, we will attempt to wrap this up in a neat little bow. Thank you to the students for sharing your stories. Thank you, those who listened and asked questions. Elmo from Sesame Street taught me one of the best lessons I've ever heard. That asking questions is a very good way to find out something that you want to know. Right? You ask a question when you want to find out something that you don't know. It's one of the best things we got. So thank you for your questions. Just to wrap this up, in case you didn't hear, the family was there with us at the build site almost the entire time. In fact, then some of their extended family came in as well. And they were not idle bystanders. They picked up hammers and participated with it. Angel, the 13-year-old boy, kept wanting to help out in the room that was going to be his room. It was profound. The father, Luis, was out there, getting into the cement and helping with drywall, and it was just wonderful to see them. When we showed up for the very first time, and there was just a rock and dirt pile that we had to level off and then put a cement slab on, Ramona, the mother and the wife, saw us and immediately began to weep at seeing the 26 of us standing there. She was overcome. And then we all got to go up and give her hugs, and it was glorious. But that family was fundamentally changed by God using us. And it was a humbling experience. We were changed as well. That family impacted us in ways that we're still coming to grips with, and we probably won't ever. We change each other. Right? God is not the only one who brings change into our lives. God uses us to bring change into others' lives. It is the power of the Spirit that works through us doing that. As we heard in our gospel lesson and our Old Testament lesson, we saw Moses changed on a mountaintop because of his being face to face with God. And we saw Jesus changed on the mountaintop because he was face to face with God. The more important thing that I think I want us to remember is that the Israelites were then changed by Moses coming down off the mountain and encountering Moses, who had been changed. Peter, like Peter does, wanted to stay on the mountain and let's stay in the place where we were changed. And Jesus is like, you don't really understand. We have to go back. There were a number of us who would love to have stayed in Mexico, and yeah, let's build another house. Let's do it right now. There's a plot right next to it. We can build a house for the rest of the family. But we couldn't do that. We had to come home because we had been changed. And we needed to let you all know about it because you sent us. So thank you for sending us, and you're welcome for being sent. We can't stay on the mountaintop. It's not where we grow. Father Ed Smith, whom many of you know, told me long ago, nothing grows on the top of a mountain. It's only in the valley that things then develop and grow. So we've come back to the valley to hopefully participate in our own growth and to help you all grow. That is the call upon the follower of Jesus, to experience God and then to live that way amongst us. So may you, as you bake cookies for neighborhood kids, or you spend time, with your family, or as you minister to the sick, or as you spend time with those who are hurting, or you celebrate with those who need to have joy in their lives, may that shine forth in you as you are changed and be an agent of change, God working in you for the benefit of others. Amen?